Hey y'all, how's it going? This is ChosenEyes, and this week's Monday morning mantra is let go. Look, and it's brought to you by this eclipse season. If you are still trying to hold on to anything that no longer serves you, if you have received synchronicities, signs, signals, downloads, whatever, from cosmos, through people, like somebody's just having a well-placed word at the right time, unsolicited advice that you're like, that actually tracks with something I've been thinking about. If you've been seeing angelic numbers, if you've been getting musical syncs, meaning you turn on the radio or you go into your playlist on whatever streaming service you use, and there's a song that immediately comes on, or something comes on like an ad that's pertaining to something you've been thinking about, either letting go or needing to acquire, but that will require you to let something go in order to create space for it. Listen to that. Act on that. You don't need to be impulsive in terms of how you decide that you want to let go of something, but start creating the scaffolding and the framework for its replacement or its upgrade, right? It doesn't always have to just be discarding something as if what was horrible. No, maybe it's time to upgrade something. That means letting go of the antiquated version of it, right? If this is a personal ideology, if this is the way that you have, navigated spiritual beliefs, if this is the way that you have been tackling friendships, relationships, your relationship to money, that's a huge one right now. So many people that I've been working with have been having a huge shift in the way in which they perceive money and attract money and just their relationship to it, for better or for worse. There's some people that I've worked with that have been big spenders because they're so accustomed to money being there, and they're having to learn that money is a currency that flows in and out. It doesn't mean scarcity to mentality, but it does mean having a healthier respect for the flow, right? We need to talk a little bit more about that when we talk about, money and abundance and prosperity gospels. Like, yeah, you can totally enjoy the fact that money is a currency and you can expect it to come to you and for it to flow in and out as you need it, and it's an endless stream. But do you respect that stream, or do you abuse the karma of the stream? That's a different video for a different day. Or if you're a person who's the opposite, right? If we're navigating extremes, and again, this is a spectrum, but on the opposite end of this extreme, are you a person who has a scarcity mentality, who feels that as soon as you get a little bit, you got to hoard onto it? You got to hold on to it because you don't know the next time that you're going to get money. You don't trust that you're going to get money, and that you don't trust this cockamamie idea that there's this endless stream, because all you've ever experienced is having just a little trickle come to you, or as soon as you get some money, it's got to come right back out. Maybe it's time for you to shift your perspective and just say, hey, maybe in terms of not viewing it as money leaving me, maybe this is an investment, me planting a seed for something that's a little bit larger, or the next step. Maybe this money needs to leave me because in this instance, it's helping me cut off a tie, right? Maybe you owe somebody money and you're just like, I don't want to have to pay them off in this big lump sum. But maybe you paying them off, you get them off your back and get them out of your energetic field so you can move forward and they can move on. You don't have to be bothered with anybody else, from that situation. And then you can move on into healthier dynamics with the lesson learned. If it's not pertaining to money and it's romance, right, and any type of heart-centered relationships, this is a great time for you to navigate your concept of attachment. Not just so much what your attachment style, what bonds you to these people, to these concepts, to these ideas. What principles hold up the foundation for this, right? There's no right or wrong answer to any of this. But if it's no longer serving you, if it's no longer healthy, and it's no longer safe emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, it's time to let it go and allow it to phase out in a way that is not just so much comfortable, because this isn't about comfort, but it is about healthy, and allowing it to move and go on its own time in its own way. I will also say this is a time of it being more of a passive letting go, as less of a active, right? So there's this thing called active and passive transport in medicine, right? When we talk in cell biology especially, you see this, where passive transport is where you kind of allow things to flow in a gradient, right? You essentially think the jet stream, right? You put a plane in the jet stream and it's able to just coast, right? Because the air is just moving it, right? In cell biology, that's one of the ways that happens with that is like microvilli, right? Like you get something that gets caught in the microvilli and it's just right, and it just floats. Okay, for all my biological nerds, you understand what the hell I'm trying to say right now. But active transport means that there are things that actually have to do work in order to move this thing across this gradient, right? So think about a barge having to push a load upstream. That's actively having to transport it, as opposed to putting a feather on top of the river and just letting it float and be carried downstream. That's passive transport. So when I'm talking about active versus passive transport for getting these things out of your life, I'm talking about whether or not you're going to have to actively push this barge or push these things out of your life, versus it may be time for you to learn how to let things flow in and out of your life as they need to. Let the seasons change and you shift accordingly, rather than you trying to push a barge uphill or out of your life. Because another thing that's going to happen on the other side of this eclipse season, on October 2nd, with the solar eclipse in Libra, is, remember, it's all about how do you want to shine. You can't shine too well if you're exhausted from doing a buttload of heavy lifting that you didn't have to do in the first place. One thing a Libra is good at doing outside of working, because Libras are very hardworking and industrious, they are very good at asking for help and delegating, believe it or not. A Libra knows how to delegate. A Libra knows, just like any other cardinal sign, they know how to delegate. They know how to pass a task off to somebody else who's better suited, so that way they can be the masterminds from behind. This is where you need to allow the universe to be your hands that you delegate to, and be able to say, you know what, that no longer serves me. It's time for us to upgrade this. That's about the only active thing that you really need to do right now. And of course, if there are a couple other things, depending on your circumstances, lean into that, right? Not sure what those things may be? Book a reading with me if you need to. I'll drop the link below where you can do that. I think my next availability is starting in first week of October. So grab your spot while you can. But yeah, this is a time for you to ask yourself how to let go, and to recognize when you need to just allow spirit, universe, cosmos, karma to do the heavy lifting, and letting that thing go for you, and watching it just float downstream away from you onto the next, to serve whatever it needs to serve next, if anything or anyone. Or if you actively need to do something, so that way you can passively float with the current later. Hope that makes sense. Drop some comments below. Let me know how you're faring this eclipse season, and let me know if that tracks at all. Keep your gazes forward, y'all. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And if you need to, reach out for a private session.